Okay, water pump time. And if you haven't seen any of the other videos, I am working on a 1958 Johnson Stoutboard. The lower unit was just resealed. It's obviously missing a water pump, so I'll be putting the water pump on. I have the water pump out on my table. I'm going to show it to you. That way you don't have to keep coming back to it every time I get a new part. We have our impeller. We have our housing. We have our tiny bag, which should contain our little pin. However, I don't feel it in there, but I do see a rip, so that's kind of concerning. Let's hope it's in there. Moly lube, that goes on the top of the drive shaft. A seal, or a gasket, that's for the plate we already installed. We won't be using that. This goes in there. We have screws, our pin, and 2 seals, which I don't think we'll be using, and some random flying bug I'll try to get later. Now that's the contents of the new Evnerd water pump kit. Keep in mind, if you buy a Sierra, you're probably not going to be getting a housing, and for the price, you might as well just get the housing. At least I don't think it's that much higher. It might be. With that, I also bought a couple extra parts. We have our large O-ring, our small O-ring, and the O-ring on top of the drive shaft. As you saw, those are not included in the kit and will need to be purchased separately. And also, another thing that I ordered was a new gasket for the shift rod connector. As you saw, mine fell apart. I'm glad I ordered it. It was kind of expensive in my book. If you have a CNC machine and you have the ability to cut the gaskets out, I'll go ahead and put a picture up so you'll be able to make your own. But this and the filter bowl gasket held up this project for another 2 weeks. So if you are going to be doing this, you might as well order those parts now. Because yeah, this stuff all in stock, this guy special order. Now let's talk sealants you're going to need. Triple guard grease, gasket sealing compound M, and dish soap. Okay, looks like you got a pretty good view there. So I'm going to start by using the gasket. What is this stuff? I don't know, this gasket adhesive stuff. Let's go ahead, put it onto our plate. Nice good amount. I'm going to slide on our plate. There's only one way this will go, so see what I'm doing here. See this little notch right there. Like so. Now get our tiny little pin, put it in our tiny little hole, like so. Now we slide down our impeller. It has a little notch right there. It slides over our little pin we just put on, just like so. Gonna do a quick comparison of the two. This is our new one. This was our one that came out of there. As you can see, one's obviously a lot nicer than the other, but we got some wear marks starting inside of here. Realistically, this one probably isn't that bad. It probably would have worked, but it still does have some grooves and should have been changed. So we got a new one now. So we are going to put some soap on the inside of this thing. Probably too much. Now we're going to put some of our gasket makery stuff onto the housing. Now for the fun part. We need to slide our impeller housing on while rotating the drive shaft so that the impeller fins kind of make their way down. So what we'll be doing is putting pressure here while with this hand spinning the propeller shaft. Alright, so as you can see, we got some soap dripping, no big deal. want to put it all right here to keep all this stuff aligned. And if you're curious, yes, I cheated. I put a little wrench right here and used that to turn it. Okay, I didn't mention this stuff earlier because I forgot, I think, but I'm going to dip each one of these screws in the gasket and sealing compound just to make sure they're not going to seize in there. Get my awl out of there, put in my screw, and let's get these screws started. Okay, let's get some triple guard grease applied to the outside and inside of this thing. This is a little grommet that our water tube attaches to. Alright, got our O-rings. Do the big one first for no reason. Coat them in triple guard grease. Alright, let's slide this on. This may or may not have come off your motor. This could be jammed up in the exhaust housing. It mounts right here inside of that little hole. Alright, let's put this kind of back in where it went. Somewhere around there. Okay, now I gotta finish filling up the gear case. Got some oil in it, just not very much. Well, that's kind of nearing to an end here. Let's go give it a test. Alright, I have my test tank and some water. I have the lower. Let's go ahead and drop it in. Might not be deep enough, but fingers crossed. And let's see what happens. Okay. I'd say it works. Job well done, I'd say. Also, it was a little spudsy because of the soap. That'd go away in a little while. So, I would say it's working pretty well, and that's the closest thing to water this engine's probably seen in a long, long time. I put the copper tube back inside of the motor, so now I need to go put this back on the engine. Okay, the lower is ready to install. I need to align the drive shaft with the splines in the crankcase while aligning the shift rod while aligning the water tube. So this is going to go pretty easy. 4 attaching screws are right here, already coated in the gasket sealing compound. Let's put the new O-ring onto our drive shaft. Sorry. Now our drive shaft kit came with some moly lube, which you would usually apply up here. However, I'd rather leave that sealed and use my little tube of it. And you don't want any on the top, so that's why I cleaned off the top. Alright, let's see how well this goes. First try of that. So I had the lower unit shifted into forward, so the the shift rod was pulled up. I had the shift handle in reverse. So what that did was brought that down as much as possible and the shift rod up as much as possible, helping me line it just a little bit. And it looks like it fell right in, so that's good. That's usually what happens. Now I have the drive, the washer, and the bolt in my little socket. I'm just going to drop it in there. Hope it grabs, which it's not. Yeah, don't drop the shifter in there, the shifter screw. As you saw, that's not fun. Also, I opened the hood so I could reach the flywheel, so I could rotate it ever so slightly, so I could align the drive shaft splines with the crankshaft. Don't think I quite explained that, but that's what I did. Alright, let's get our new gasket in there. Followed by our cover seal, or cover rather. And then our little screws. Now for the propeller. So the propeller, most of the time people just put it on here. But what you should do is coat it in this triple coat of grease so that it doesn't rust on there or corrosion itself into place. That's usually all it takes. And I put in some of the drive pin too, because hashtag YOLO. You don't want to go ridiculously tight here, but get a look through the hole. Wait for the line to put the hole in the propeller shaft. It's loose right there, but I'm gonna go back half a turn because that is tight. If you're curious, that's what I was looking for, that hole. Alright, since I forgot to order a new cotter pin, we'll be reusing the old one. Well, that's it for now. It's really not hard. It's nothing you couldn't do on your own. Just needs a little bit of solvents and a little bit of tools. So a lot of people see these videos and they say to me, well, I don't have to buy all those solvents, so I'll just pay somebody to do it. Well, the problem is, when you pay somebody to do it, you might as well just buy the solvents, because they are definitely going to charge you more than those solvents cost. Also, I'll post a link to the reference chart to show you which water pump you would need for your motor. And remember those links below, help support the channel. So that is all for now. Next time, we are going to try to start this thing up. So, we'll see how well that goes. Everybody, see you then.